welcome to Cinema Snacks.
Hello and welcome back to Cinema Snacks. This week we're going to finish phase two of the MCU with Ant-Man.
Hello, I'm Jobe. It's I.
And unfortunately there's no Scott as we accidentally shipped him to Australia in his iron lung because that's where someone needed it and we didn't think to get him out first.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so thing is, he's going by sea, so it's actually his aqua lung.
Okay, we'll have a moment's silence for that joke.
I'll see myself out.
Yeah. So I have
Hmm.
I've done the facts and the trivia for this one.
Ooh.
As we watch this, you will see Edgar Wright's fingerprints all over this film. However, he didn't actually end up directing it. No, and I wrote this down because even I was surprised how long this took.
Hmm.
He started writing the script in 2008, and
Wow.
he didn't get the final script sent over to Marvel to 2014. And when he sent it to them, they said they wanted to do their own pass and their own touch-ups, which he doesn't like doing with his films. So he left.
Hmm.
And that's why we ended up with director Peyton Reed.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
originally it was supposed to be the end of phase one, but then they didn't
Hmm.
want to rush it, so it was going to be the end of phase two. No, it was going to be
Uh-huh.
before Age of Ultron. Then it was going to be the
Okay.
start of phase three, but then they put it back to the end of phase two.
So here's the thing. Having watched this, so at time of recording, I watched this yesterday. It doesn't feel like it really fit. I wouldn't say like, oh yeah, this is definitely like the last film of this phase. It does have that feeling of a side film that could really be put anywhere because you could put this before it doesn't feel like this could, it feels like you could put this at the beginning or at the end of Age of Ultron and doesn't really make any difference because the
Well,
only reference you'd really need is like Falcon.
well, that's we'll touch upon it when we get to that part. But there's something about this film I actually like about what you said about it
Yeah,
as well. Like it could be anywhere. But
yeah.
I should also do Scott's part. The budget for this film was 120 to 160 million dollars, made
Oh wow.
519. And I can't remember if
Mm.
I said, and if I did, I just cut this part out. It was between Paul Rudd and Joseph Gordon-Levitt for the part of Scott Lang.
Oh, okay.
So there we go. There's my tidbits of facts.
So
And
did you see this in the cinema when it came
I
out?
did.
Or
I went, the only Marvel film, or the first Marvel film I didn't see in the cinema was Black Widow in phase four because of
makes
COVID.
sense. Yes.
And it was, I can't remember if it was me or M got COVID. I think it was M.
Mm.
So anyway, like, yeah, we didn't end up seeing it, but every other film I'd seen in the cinema.
Okay. Yeah, I remember seeing this in the cinema because it was one of those. Once again, we'll get onto it again later, but it was one of those films that everyone was like, "This is quite different in a good way."
Right, we're trying to go through the bits. I've got
Yes.
rough stages of the film. Film starts
Same.
set in 1989, which becomes a favourite trait of Marvel after this, where I swear
Hmm.
every other film has a massive date of when it's supposed to have been set on in it because they can't do a linear story. Um,
No, no.
but I did like the kind of how they set it up. Like you've got young Gar, Hank
Yeah.
Pym, going in demanding to speak to what we believe is the head of Shield at that point, and we see some
Mm.
familiar faces. We've got Howard, Stark,
Yeah.
Peggy, and unnamed guy who will be future bad guy in this film, which I think is actually his surname, which was right on the nose.
I know, right? I mean, what I liked is the fact you've got an aged down actor in a room with an aged up character actor,
Yeah,
and because I don't know, because I don't actually know the age of the actor who plays Howard Stark, but he doesn't look like he's been aged up
I think
that
he's
much.
there or thereabouts.
Yeah, so it's just kind of funny. It's just kind of funny seeing seeing that on screen. It amused me.
We see Hank saying to them about he wants to walk away, and you see there's
Hmm.
like an uneasy like understanding between him and Howard.
Yeah,
Like they don't see eye to eye, but there's an understanding, and Peggy's kind of the every woman of the group.
yeah.
And yeah,
There's a mutual respect because they're a mutual respect sort of thing.
Yeah, I think Peggy understands why he's a bit spiky, as we see later in the film.
Mm.
And yeah, then he clocks Mister who has no name,
Yep.
and
To which I've written, keep your wife's name out of my mouth.
very topical. Only 3 years out of date. You're getting close to the current events, Joe.
Hey, look, I write them as they come.
Yeah, then we jump into the film, and compared to all the other ones, yeah, and it's something I'll probably touch on a couple of times because I'm not a
Mm.
parrot, always bloody repeating myself.
Yeah.
It starts with a lot smaller thing. You see Scott in prison. It's our first introduction, and him and the other guy punching each other, and you're like, oh no, is he like really in trouble? But no, apparently it's just a leaving ritual, which I like
Yeah.
because it kind of takes you off kilter from a lot of the other films. Like there's not this big emotional arc or this big setup.
Yeah.
It's just where we find Scott Lang at this point.
I feel that as Scott Lang is a very kind of comedic character compared to what we've had prior, I feel that this was a way for them to have a good character, a funny character, because because at that point they didn't really have Deadpool.
Hmm.
So it felt like this isn't a bad thing, but it felt like they kind of went, well, we need someone who's kind of fun and to have as part of the group. Because obviously everyone's really enjoying Deadpool at the moment. I can't remember when Deadpool 2 came out around this time, wasn't it?
No, I think you've got your dates all turned around. Ant-Man come out in 2015, and
Mm.
Deadpool I think comes out a year later. Yeah,
Oh.
Deadpool come out, so this is a year ahead of
Oh, okay.
Deadpool. But
Okay, fair enough. Then completely ignore me.
see, I've got a different read on it, and I was saying this to them yesterday.
Mm.
I liked that we've got actors who do mostly like serious and thing, but they can do comedy. It was nice to
Yeah.
see someone whose real happy place is doing comedy, but can
Mm.
do serious. It added a
Yeah.
layer we haven't really seen. It was nice to see. I'm probably like there's an argument for Star-Lord being more comedic, but that's not the part he's supposed to play. He's a bit of an outsider where Scott is just naturally funny.
It's kind of yeah. He's kind of Scott's kind of like the everyman because
Yeah.
because you can imagine someone like Star Lord. He's the guy you'd bump into in the bar or the pub. But Scott Lang is someone who'd be your next door neighbor.
Yeah. After we're introduced to him, we see him leave and we meet one of the
Best
uh,
characters.
yeah, Lewis picks him up and he's talking to him and you can tell they're friends and
Yeah.
it does slightly misdirect at the start because you're like, oh, okay, like why is Scott in prison? How does he
Yeah.
know Lewis? What's all
Yeah.
their involvement? And eventually they go back and he mentions about doing a job and he says he wants to keep straight because of his daughter.
Yeah.
And then we see Cassie who that is fairly young in this. He calls her Peanut because he
Mm.
hasn't been invited to her birthday party, but he's found
Yeah.
out about it. I don't know, like
So
this, the whole setup. I just like that
mm,
the stakes are a lot smaller for Scott from what we've
yeah.
seen in the other films, and
Uh,
it's a smaller film needed in between two big films.
it's also relatable. He's a family man. He's a guy who wants to try and do good on his family. Now, the kind of story structure is a very not to be insulting. It's a very basic story structure.
Ah, but
He's
it's
an ex-con. No, no,
oh,
no. But
go on, no,
like
go on.
there's some- like as you go through, it's like okay, he's an ex-con who wants to get on the straight and narrow, but he's been given this other gig, and now he has to commit crimes. So, as I said, it's not in a kind of structural way. It's a very kind of it's been done before as you're kind of sitting through. But what I did appreciate is the fact that though his wife's new fiance is combative, he's understandably combative as
Yeah,
he's a police officer and but he's not like unnecessary.
yeah,
He's not like an arcing villain. And the relationship between him and his ex-wife is also feels very natural. They're not combative either. She's just like, just pick up your pieces and sort yourself out. After all, they both did fight Michael Myers.
yes, they did. That's a poll. I
I
love
seriously, I was sitting there and I'm like, wait a minute.
bum bum bum.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a great line, ain't it, from like the little girl. She's like, "Mum was
Mm.
so surprised you were here and happy that she spat out a drink."
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, no, that sounds like something a 5-year-old would say.
The next part, like, because this is all the setup, we see Hank going back to what do they call it? My brain says Pim Particles, but that's what he's made. It's Pim Industries. Yeah, that sounds right.
We'll call it PIM Industries. It's fine.
Yeah,
PI.
we see that he's getting forced out of his own company by Darren Cross, who's now the head of it, and we see the kind of narrative, his plot narrative in it is that they've actually figured out how to do
Mm.
his technology, or they are very much on the cusp at this point. And you see the yellow jacket suit because the
So,
myth there's like a myth of the Ant-Man suit in it at this
mm.
point.
so one thing I kind of, I this is when the film becomes a bit camp in the fact that, oh, here's this character, so villain coded. He
Oh yeah,
just, yeah, it's, I don't want to say no nuance. There's no frills. He is a villain. He's blatantly a villain. His suit looks like an evil villain suit.
I have to
There's
admit
nothing like approachable. It looks like a supervillain suit.
there was various points in this film where my brain kept going back to Ben Schwartz in Parks and Rec, where at the end of that, going off on a tangent, they show
Mm.
what happened to their characters, and you see his funeral, but he's there, and they're doing this song to go watch. He's like, okay, we don't need to not be suspicious, and they're literally dancing and singing the "Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious." That's basically what played every time I saw Darren Cross in my head in this film.
Uh, yeah, the entire thing is just like, oh, it because like later on, there's that scene. Is like, does he suspect? And he's like touching his shoulder. It's okay, I'm thinking, and then there's like, what? Why has no one gone? Hey, wait a minute. I think this guy's proper dodgy.
Well, that's kind of set up with Hank and
Yeah,
Hope, isn't it? Because
yeah,
she pretends not to be close, but they are close. And he's like, I've got a
yeah,
guy. And then it cuts back to the birthday scene part that we said.
yeah.
But
Also, I just have to throw this in. I Hope's hair looks terrible. I know it's such a stupid thing, but I'm looking at this hair and I'm like, that's why this? Why did we choose this? This kept bugging me throughout the entire film.
so I can actually get this continuity right. So we're recording this after I've just done the Daredevil episode.
Yeah.
And I mentioned something about hair pieces in that film for
Mm.
poor Charlie Cox being young Daredevil or young Matt in it.
Yeah.
So there's a
Mm.
through line. So yes, we're gonna. Marvel has an interesting time with wigs. Sometimes they get it perfect, sometimes not so great.
But yeah, it was just kind of distracting.
We then jump to the next part of the film where Scott has tried to work at Baskin and Robbins, but they found
Mm.
out who he is.
They
They
always
can't
find out.
admire him. Yeah, but they let him take a drink on the way out. And he goes back to
Yeah,
Lewis and the rest of the team and says he wants the job. And these team of three, like that, was just cast so wonderfully.
it
Like,
was.
especially Damien. I'm going to make one attempt to say his surname. Damien Dashan. He's the
Yeah,
one who speaks with the accent like this. And
Russian.
well, he said he created this character in his head, and I was reading the description. He's like, when he read it, he said for some reason in his head, this character lived out in a town even further out than Siberia, and all he'd grown up with was watching Elvis and one other thing. He's really smart, but all his clothes are polyester, and I'm really happy he thought of that because we ended up with Kurt. So,
Mm.
but he's got this insane amount of knowledge about just everything. But yeah, they say about a job, and we see the first Lewis flashback, and I'm not even going to try to do it because the way he does it, it's just brilliant.
Yeah.
But I always felt they missed a trick when they got to like Infinity War,
Hmm.
and Scott had gone. They should have had him and Kurt find him and the other guy,
Yeah.
and just explain to him what's happened the past 5 years.
Oh, that would have been. You know what? Thing is,
I
I
will.
think that if they did that, I don't know. I think that might take away from some of the levity, some of the heaviness in that. But I do see your point. That would be good. Or they
Uh,
like cut back later and he's still going.
I have thoughts about when we get to that film, but that film's for another day. So yeah, then they hear about the job, and the job is to get the suit.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's I kind of love this whole part about getting the suit and what they do when they get the suit.
Mm.
It made me smile the whole time. So you see and I think it's the first time we hear like why Scott went to prison, and it was
Yeah.
he did a good deed. It was a company that I'm trying to remember if they took money and then he hacked in and gave it all back because he technically broke the law. He went to prison. So
Yeah.
it's a
He's the
more,
Robin Hood type.
yeah. He's also very clever, as we see. So he knows how to
Mm.
break into this safe. He goes into the house.
And he's already showing that he has like physical skill. He's not just starting at zero and then becoming skillful. He already has like a good bit of dexterity. He knows how to throw a punch.
Yeah.
You know, he's already showing that he's competent, and it makes sense that he's competent.
Is it? Yes, it's a very good sequence, and I quite
Mm.
like him blowing the safe door off, and they're
Yeah,
expecting all money and jewels, and it's just a suit.
yeah,
So he's kind of a bit disappointed, as you'd expect. So he takes the
yeah.
suit anyway, and we see a tiny little ant with a camera watching, and
Mm.
we see Hank doing his very lazy version of Nick Fury with a couple of screens, sitting and observing.
Yeah.
And yeah, then we kind of go back, and he's not really sure what to do. Like they got the suit, there's no monetary value in it. And like
Yeah,
you said with Scott, we see him tinkering with the suit. He's kind of curious by it, tries it on.
yeah,
And then, yeah, we see how clever Hank's supposed to be because he knew try it
mm.
on, like intrigue would
Yeah,
get the better of him, and we have the kind of humorous. And it's just a thing I love during the film. Like you see the action on his level, like
yeah.
everything's loud and
That whole
yeah,
disorienting nature of
yeah,
what's just happened. And this is one of the interesting things this film had done. It's that, as I said, you and I, we'd been reading comic books for ages.
yeah,
Not and the idea. I think the only other character I had read who shrinks down was the Atom, and that was during like the Darkest Night saga
yeah,
on DC. But it never looked interesting. This is the first time. I mean, it's probably better because it's on a comic book film rather than a comic book. This is the first time you're seeing someone shrinking down, and it looks interesting. The
mm,
fact that he just shrinks into the bath, and then this bath is like the size of like five football pitches or two US American football pitches. Just
yeah.
the scale and how overwhelming they made it feel. Not just big, but overwhelming and disorientating
And
and dangerous.
he's trying to get Lewis's attention, and he falls through
Yeah.
the crack. Yeah, it's just everything about it. Also, a good way of seeing where he lives. Like he's very much
Mm.
in a place where like it's a community in there. You got lots of very different people. Like he goes through the people having a rave at what we assume is about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, based by the light out the window.
I know, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It must be the same rate from earlier in the day.
Yeah, just non-stop one. And we know all about them because we always went to raves. And in
Oh,
saying
heck
that, I
yes.
don't think I ever went to a single one.
No, I don't think. I mean, nightclubs, yeah, but I never actually did a rave. But then that's a genre of music that's not really my thing. But I think we're getting off tangent a bit.
Yeah, well, it's funny seeing him go on the vinyl and flying off,
Yeah,
avoiding all the shoes, and then gets hoovered up with a Lego and then shoots through.
it's
It's,
just sorry, God. Yes, there's a great sequence of
yeah,
different
no, took the words right out of my
dangers.
mouth. I was going to say is a very good sequence, and especially like seeing the mouse or rat, which was something they joked about earlier on.
Yeah,
And this what I like. Like he does all that, and he's like, "I'll be in touch with you soon." And
yeah,
I love the next part where Scott gets back. He's like, "Nope," like packs up the
yeah,
suit and goes to get in, and we find out later that Hope was the one who called the police, but he comes out with
yeah,
like a great line where they're like, "Holt, like you've been found to be like robbing." He's like, "I'm not robbing it. I was returning what I'd stolen." And like you're with him. You're like, "Oh no," you know what
yeah,
you said.
yeah,
And unfortunately, this is like probably intact too. This is Scott's low
yeah.
point where he's in the prison. His wife's new husband and his
Beyonce.
daughter's stepdad. He's there and he's saying they're disappointed. It's not what he wants to hear, and obviously he doesn't
No,
know the whole context. But then he sees he says he's got his lawyer, and we see Hank sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a good little exchange. He goes back to the cell, and I quite like the ants counting down the number.
Yeah.
And we have the smallest get out ever, which is wonderful. Just
Mm.
runs out of them, sits on the car, and then we have a genuine moment like, oh dear, like where he's going up on the ant, and it
Yeah.
is. I think it's a clever thing they put in because it sets you up for something they do later in the next film. Like
Mm.
there's an adjustment to the body, isn't there? And I think
Yeah.
it's too much for him, so he passes out, then wakes up in Hank's house.
Yeah.
Um,
Surrounded by really bitey ants.
yeah, and he answers. He asks a question which no one asks in these films, but should more. So he's trying to
Um,
come around. He was in the Ant-Man suit. He's like, "Whose pajamas are these?"
yeah. Yeah.
Like, I have to admit that would be something that concerns me. I'd be like, I remember putting these on.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
think it's one of those things where like some other places are like, wait a minute, who dressed me?
at this point we're now into like the what I'd call probably end of Act Two, starting into Act Three, but it's quite
Right.
fast paced for me, and I like it.
Yeah,
You,
training montage.
yeah, you get the training montage of him running into a door and them trying to understand, and you keep sensing that Hope is annoyed that it's not her, and
Hmm.
Hank's reluctant, and yeah, you get like we said, we get our training montage. I did like at this they have like a tiff, and Scott puts
Yeah.
his hand up, and he's like,
Yeah.
Scott, you don't have to put your hand up. He's like, oh, yeah, basically, he basically asks like why him, and we get the whole pin particles plot at this point.
And to be fair, I'd miss Michelle Pfeiffer. I didn't know how much I missed her until the next film.
Well, you'd been waiting since Batman Returns, hadn't you?
Worth the wait. Totally
Yeah.
worth the wait. One bit I did like is where they're both sitting in the car. I mean, I think you've probably already got
Oh,
this
the
on your
pep
notes, but
talk.
not even, yeah, kind of the pep talk where he's just gone like, well, the reason he hasn't chosen me is because I'm expendable. As an audience member, you're sitting there thinking, oh, that makes sense. But the fact that he's going, oh no, no, I could die and it doesn't, he knows that he's expendable and doesn't care because he's got his daughter
Well,
as his motivator.
it's what Hank said to him as well, isn't it? He's like, we're not stopping this from happening for us. We're
Yeah,
stopping it happening for them, like their
yeah,
kids. And that's all he needs to hear because Scott at his soul is a moral person. He does,
yeah,
like you said earlier, he's like the Robin Hood.
yeah,
But yeah, then they have their pep talk. I think Hope sees what she hears what she needs to, and then Hank finally tells her what happened to her mum and how, yeah, without a second's hesitation, she went subatomic
yeah.
to
Because yeah,
that was it. That was the only choice, and he would have done it, but his thing was broken.
that's the other thing, though, isn't it? It's not just the fact that he lost her; it's the it should have been me sort of guilt, survivor's guilt sort of thing.
And then at this moment, we went into Dan head tangent thinking,
Uh-oh.
or on the missile, you don't see ants, it's just they are small. He then
Yes,
loses his wife, and
yes.
his grieving process is to get
Uh-huh.
closer to the ants to a kind of scary level. As
Right.
he communicates with them,
Uh-huh.
he has no problem with them moving his sugar.
Dan,
Like he
where's this
hasn't.
going?
No, he hasn't. Like you go through stages of grief, and apparently he's like, I'm not going to go look for other people. I'm just going to communicate with the ants and stay close to the ants. And he's like, hopes like he didn't speak to me for 10 years. Just got this image of him with his little earpiece. He's like, you understand what I'm thinking, right? And the ants like, yeah, sure. It's just like at some point in this, he went from being a hero to having an absolute unhealthy obsession with ants. It just, yeah, just broke me. Like, it's like, what happened in those 40 years when he put his sole focus onto ants? Oh, what's it they had called it, where he's trying to, like, the subatomic area. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was my
I
side
mean,
fault watching that.
to be fair, one, I thought I was going to go in a very different direction, like the thing from Rick and Morty. Like, I think they're going to go the Rick and Morty thing with the man who's made out of a nest of ants.
No, it was just, it just I sat there pondering. I was like, he really took this thinking about small things really seriously.
I mean, to be fair, I guess it's like because that was his tech, it was probably like I think that I guess in seriousness, that makes sense because that would have been his comfort thing. That would have been his. I don't know what else I can do. I have to focus on this one thing. And also, it was kind of like implied that he's doing it to try and get as a way to try and figure out how to get her back. And once again, Michelle Pfeiffer, understandable.
Well, yes. Maybe we should have led with that, shouldn't he? Is your mum looked startlingly like Michelle Pfeiffer. So now we're in the kind of third act. Now everyone
Yeah.
knows where everyone is. Scott's got more focus for his training, and we get probably my favourite fight of the whole thing.
Hmm.
They need all the components to basically blow up pin particles, stop the yellow jacket suit, and so forth and so forth.
Oh, we've
Uh,
missed a scene
what scene?
with Falcon.
No, that's the one I was setting up to.
Oh, oh, my
So,
apologies. Cut that.
so they're trying to get the bits. One part is in a building, but they haven't realised it's now the Avengers Stories building.
Yeah.
And as I put in my notes, and now ripped Paul Rudd goes in there as
Yeah,
Ant-Man, and it's just a fun fight, like
it is.
because it shows it's part of the universe, but it's also they need this thing, and yeah, it's just a great little fight.
I like the bit of like, hey, who are you? And he just shows his face. Hi, I'm Scott. And they're like,
Oh
has he,
yeah,
yeah, has he just revealed his identity to like technically the enemy? And it's just like, but he's looking at this going, hey, I'm also like you. I've got a suit. I'm doing the good things. Isn't that great? Hey, can you do me a favor? Because he just thinks he's immediately on their level.
yeah,
And
and
he's
it
also being a bit of a fanboy.
and I like the way he takes him down though, because they do a bit of hand to hand, and he's hitting him, and then he
Mm.
kind of realizes he can't beat him in hand to hand. So they
Yeah,
kind of go into a room, they can't see anything, and he's just shrunk down. He's taken everything out of his like winged mech suit,
yeah,
and you see him like get away, and just found was like Cap can never hear about this.
yeah.
And yeah, he goes back, and Hank kind of berates him for it could have all went south. They could have got the suit, and he just drops what he needs.
Yeah. Although the bit that gets me is like, you could have been killed. I'm like, the Avengers don't kill people. Have we not already established this?
Yeah. But yeah, then we lead
Hmm.
into they're all set for the heist. They have to go get Lewis and them involved, and
Yeah,
it's
let's
just a
get all
fun,
his mates.
it's just a funny back and forth. And they get in, they get the ants. I like this is all kind of like espionage, they infiltrate, they get in. It's all going according to plan. Apart from earlier on, Cross had come and visited Hank at home because he said he wanted him there. And I said I could just hear the "Don't Be Suspicious" music playing in my head.
Dun, 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 dun.
There's a "Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious." So
Ah,
then you see, and they kind of expand to the bigger world again. You see that
yeah,
Hydra are the ones who are buying it. So there was Hydra have always been in and around, according to who we see there,
yeah,
Shield for as long as they've known. We have the kind of classic fighty, like it looks like the heroes are in trouble, then Scott smashes out.
yeah.
And there's so much to uncover. You could spend a whole lot, but it's very well paced. The fighting works well. There's
The
genuine
scenes.
moments when you're not sure if they're going to win.
I mean, the scenes with the with his friends outside, the police getting involved, them having to cause a distraction so Pym can actually get in the car and get into the building in the first place, and how his team from earlier have actually really did help in the infiltration.
They all get out in the nick of time. Thankfully, they all get out in the nick of time. Cross is in the helicopter. Ant-Man goes after him, and in a
Mm.
really great scene, you see Hank look at his keychain with
Yeah,
hope because they're not sure they're going to get out, and he's like, "Yeah, that's not a toy on there." Basically, smash out the building in the tank before it implodes.
um,
And we then get straight to them. It's what I like. It's a small big fight again. So they have a fight and then they
mm.
get locked in the briefcase.
Oh,
And
I
I,
love the briefcase bit.
I said like this whole end part you can tell is very Edgar Wright coded.
Hmm.
So you got the fight in the briefcase with the broken suite, you got the car, and to them it's huge with the phone, and to everyone else it's just a briefcase with little beams coming out.
Yeah,
Then they land in the neighbour's garden, and they have their small and big fight. They keep going from big to small, and then Yellow Jacket eventually gets stuck in the bug zapper as the police turn up and arrest Ant-Man. Yeah, you see Hank's looking at his legacy is now gone because he's blown it up because he didn't want it to fall into the wrong hands.
yeah,
But Scott's trying to tell them there's still someone there, like the Yellow Jacket, and you can
yeah.
tell, as they've implied, like being in that suit messes with your head, and now he's
And
getting
then he gets
electrocuted.
electrocuted. Yeah. I mean,
So,
one thing I do like, it's that kind of tragedy of that situation of if they could just see Yellow Jacket, they wouldn't have arrested him. He would
mm,
have been like, look, this villain is here. I've gone to stop him. Then at least they would have arrested both of them rather than just him, or at least kind of go, okay, fine, but you still escaped police custody or whatever. Yeah, and then as you're saying, we then go to the house.
and now we are at the end of the film.
Yeah,
The big small battle, which you can tell was 100% written by Edgar Wright. This part,
yeah.
110%.
What I love is part of that, like some of this scene was in the trailers, and it always makes me laugh. This entire scene.
But it is the perspective as well. It starts off very
Mm,
serious. Yellow Jacket's kind of gone a bit mad, and he's got Cassie, and
mm.
they burst in there. Ant-Man appears, but then the stepdad appears, and there's almost a moment of teamwork to get her out of the room. But the
Yeah.
fighting before, it's all happening on the train track with Thomas the
Or,
Tank Engine going around, and it's just brilliant.
and just like the fact this is like running through the carpet, getting all the ants, and also once again just to kind of show like, yeah, some of the ants are being like shot at and killed off and stuff, but it's still a case of they're still a threat anyway because if and if enough of them can, if enough of them can get to him in time, he could be easily overwhelmed.
100%. Yeah, it's just wonderful everything about it. Like you're seeing it from their perspective, they're chucking trains, picking up bridges. All you see from Cassie's perspective is little bits of light and just like Thomas falling over.
It's always it's always the best bit. I always look forward to seeing that bit.
I think
And I like the idea, and I like the application of the discs because there's Hank Pym
yes.
was like, the suit has no weapons, it just has these things, and it's just like okay, and you just get to, and once again they get used a lot in the second film, and just
Yeah.
once again it just goes to show how a simple power, if given the right context, could be made. You could really see the benefits of this sort of power
Hmm.
in the wrong hands, in the wrong hands. This would just be a spy film, but because the right hands and the right writers, they've made it an action comedy with a bit of mystery, and they made a heist film. They
Yeah.
didn't do an action com. It's a specifically a heist film. We've got to get the thing.
Like I said at the start, I say it again. Paul Rudd is just wonderful casting in this because it shapes out the universe with something it doesn't have. It's a smaller
Hmm.
story on a bigger scale, but it's more personal. Like the stakes aren't world ending. It's more about like family and trying to do what's right. And
Yeah,
after like the dourness of a lot of phase two, like Winter Soldier's
yeah,
very serious. For the Dark
hmm.
World is a film. Guardian of the Galaxy, like there's laughter, but there's lots of seriousness and darkness. Age of Ultron is a very serious film. This is the first one where you went in and you could just have a good time. Like there were
Yeah.
stakes, but it wasn't, oh my God, this is the end.
Yeah. Once again, as you said in Age of Ultron, because this character is a person that it's a person who's in under this sort of circumstance there, and some people could imagine, well, it's literally he came across a suit and he's been chosen by some wealthy guy. That is a thing that unlikely, but it's a thing that can happen. Someone could just go,
Yeah,
"You're pretty good, put this suit on."
Yeah, it's a matter of circumstance, somewhat,
Yeah,
but it's
circumstance and just natural skill.
in this fight scene after we see Thomas going big and small and ants scurrying through the house.
I love
Scott,
that. That's one messed up looking dog.
and it's American because just no one questions it at that point. After what they've
Yeah,
seen like the past 4 or 5 years, like, yeah, sure.
yeah, why not?
I like it as well. You see like the three guys going to help Scott, and they sort of please like just back up, don't do anything, back
Yep.
up nice and slow.
Yeah, we're just gonna. Yeah, as I say, we're not here. We don't need to. Yeah, let's go.
But in amongst the Thomas fight, Scott it then dawns on Scott that he's got to make the sacrifice play. So the only way
Yeah,
you can stop Yellow Jacket is to go subatomic, and he knows the risks, and he does
yeah,
it, and you see him stop Yellow Jacket's thing, and the last thing he hears is he's going subatomic, is his daughter saying like, "Daddy, come back."
yeah.
And I
Oh,
like the way they distort everything in that. It's great.
yeah. As an amateur astronomer, I've been trying to keep up with stuff like, well, with more videos and TV programs rather than actual research. The stuff with the idea of physics in the quantum realm of stuff that's beyond particles. It's just it. It's one of those things you can, as a writer, you can just write anything. There are literally no rules. You can just go, sod it. There'll be bits of light. We can do whatever we want. And the fact that they kind of do that whole kaleidoscope, and it's not just what he's seeing, but he's being a part of it as well. It's just like, is he up? Is he down? When he gets the discs out, they're just floating. So he's
Yeah,
kind of like in space, but can he move himself forward? Or how, and also how small is he? Because there's like an actual, there is a smallest unit of measurement, which is Planck. And that's like the smallest distance.
yeah.
Any of the smallest, is he smaller than that? How small is he? How far down is he? It's just, oh, it's great.
Thankfully, he figures out how to get himself big again. He takes a risk, guided by his
Yeah.
daughter's voice, and
Oh,
yeah, he reappears, and there's a. I think we can
mm.
agree there's a newfound respect between
Yeah.
both him and everyone, really, like his
Yeah.
ex-wife, her
Actually, quick
fiance.
question. Quick question.
Yep,
So I'd watched, so it'd been a while since I'd last seen this film. How much time do you think had passed since, was it like a couple of minutes, like half an hour? Because obviously with
I
other
I
characters later on, yeah.
think based upon the hole still in the wall, it can't
Mm,
be more than a couple of minutes at this point. It felt like,
yeah.
based on his thing, it felt like seconds to him. So I don't know, maybe 30 minutes at the most.
Yeah. Yeah, because that was the thing I was thinking earlier. Thinking about it when I watched this yesterday. It's like, how much time has passed in that point? Because obviously, as late as what would happen in the end of the last next film was the fact that he's in subspace for 5 years but doesn't know. So
Yeah.
maybe it's more of a case of he's come back now, and then not until the second film do they consider the idea of having making a longer period of time.
Well, it sets up the ending, doesn't it? Because
Mm,
then you see Hank asking him about what he remembers
yeah,
after,
and he
like,
doesn't.
yeah. Though we're getting to the next film, things come back to him eventually. But
Yeah,
there's a gap in time, and we see him having a family meal again. Like
yeah,
and we see the stepdad do him a solid. He's like, yeah, he's in prison. He's like, and you broke out. He's like, but there was a technical problem, and it wouldn't be right to, you know,
yeah,
charge you when you checked out properly. And you
yeah.
see like there's kind of this new link, which is nice
Yeah, yeah. It's known as the Kruger clause.
because of Freddie.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it wraps up with just one moment I know, mate. Everyone smile, and we get our Stanley-O
Mm.
right at the end of this, the Stan Lee
I
cameo.
know the
There's just
Stanley
no
cameo in the
strip club.
ADHD fueled explanation of the Falcon trying to find out who Ant-Man is.
Yeah,
And some other people were very excited about this explanation
it was
because it's
great, wasn't it?
No, I mean that was great anyway. But that's when they first dropped the hint that Marvel might have the rights to make a live action Spider-Man.
Yes. Like we got people crawling up walls and swinging, wasn't it?
Yeah, you've got people who can jump, you've got people who can swing, you've got people who can walk, crawl on walls, and
Yeah.
everyone's like, "Wait a minute, does that mean we're gonna get a Spider-Man?"
It's like where I've been reviewing Daredevil Born Again season two.
Hmm.
It was at the end of season one, everyone suddenly like, oh, this is in the same universe because it's like the Kingpin mentioning that he's got like bugs also affecting him. So it was like that kind of moment. Yes, we've reached the end of this film. Our review for it. What would you score it
Good.
out of 10, Scott? Scott? Sorry, Jove.
It's
What would you
okay. We're
score this
both
out of 10,
devilishly
Jove?
Once again, I would give this a solid 8. It's, as I said, despite my feelings of like the villain being a blatant villain, unapologetic, I guess. That kind of but then that's more of a personal thing. I feel that it's a strong film. D depending on how comfortable you are with kids hearing swearing, I reckon this is one of the films that's more of a family film as well.
I've watched this with my son a couple of times.
Yeah, it's a film you can easily sit down with with your kids and enjoy it. Maybe cover their ears or one or two words, but because it's not. I mean, we grew up watching worse things in the 80s, but it's not exactly the most. There's a bit of blood in it, but
Mm.
it's not really gory. But nothing as traumatizing as we used to have as kids. But I feel that this is easy, a very easy thing for a family to sit down and you kind of get to learn different species of ants and those scenes where he's hanging out with Anthony and all of those scenes will make you smile. And I've never had a film that's made me feel sad about the death of an ant.
Oh yeah, Andy, no.
Yeah, and it's just like, why? What? Hey, are we going to use mice? No, I want to use sheep. And it's like that. That feels a bit extra,
One
you know,
one of the
much more.
notes I skipped over does just say tiny sheep with an exclamation mark.
You know. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, that it's definitely you could have this is a good family film. Your kids can watch this. Your folk could watch this. Your grandparents could watch this. Everyone would understand what's happening. They might not necessarily get the reference with the Falcon, but overall, I reckon this is a really good film, and this is easily watchable again. It's like I'm a bit bored. I could watch this one because I know I'm going to like it, rather than just a film to sit down to fill the time.
Yeah, I gave it a solid 8 out of 10. It's a happy film you can just put on, relax. You don't need no loads of lore. It's fun. Does make
Yeah.
Paul Rudd makes me laugh quite a few times, like at the end where
Mm.
you see him kissing Hope, and he was like, and you see Hank just stares. And he's like, "Something to know about it." He's like, "No." He's like, "It's weird. She just, it's like, kiss me. I don't know anything about this."
Yeah.
And then he's just like, "You're fully." He's like, "Yes, I am," and just leaves.
Yep. I mean, that bit at the end with Hope is just like, okay, I mean, that's more forced than Black Widow and Hulk, if I'm
But
honest.
I know it was just funny the way that he plays it off.
Oh yeah, yeah, he plays it off very well.
And
It's still funny.
I think we can assume in Scott's absence, he would give this film 10 out of 10 because it's almost semi-biographical. Someone
Yeah.
called Scott,
Yep.
who's rather small and can fall
Yep.
through cracks in reality in time.
I mean, he's done this before and off
Uh,
on lost to internet stuff.
Then you mentioned a podcast that will not be named, then, didn't you?
I wasn't going to name the podcast, but I was just like, no, just I couldn't figure out the right way to phrase it. But no, I actually forgot the podcast's name until you mentioned it.
Well, there we go.
But yeah,
Well, until
uh,
next time, where Job chooses the next film. And this is going to be
yes.
funny because I always write the plot beats and I haven't done for the next one. So it's all on you, Job.
Oh no, even my dogs just looked at me and whimpered.
So until next time, I've
I've
been
been
Dan.
Joe. I've been Joe. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Cinema Snacks on Instagram and cinema.snacks.pod on Instagram, on TikTok. And also, if you like anything to do with humorous comics, check out one of my other social media accounts, Six Comics, spelled SICX CIMIX, where I do political satire and other bits and bobs, because I thought might as well promote the other stuff I do whilst I'm here.
Yeah, and I've been Dan, and I'll see you next time.
Catch you
Bye.
later. Bye.